So this week, a Western Sydney council voted to remove material about same-sex parenting from its library shelves. Now, this is a story that has been everywhere this week. And it essentially came after a local councillor claimed he had received multiple complaints about this specific library book that is about same-sex parenting. And in the end, that ban ended up passing in a 6-5 vote.
This feels like a really American conversation to be having. It's weird to be talking about book bans in Australia.
Yeah.
Can we start by talking about the actual book that's in question here?
Yeah, so the children's book is called Same-Sex Parents by Holly Duhigg. I went to look up the book and found a blurb and also a bit of a preview of the book. So I'll quote the blurb first to give you a sense of what the book is actually about. It says, every family is different and unique. This title explores what it's like having 2 mums or 2 dads, offers answers to curious questions from peers, and shows how all families love each other regardless of gender. I then looked at the preview of the book online, and the page that's on the preview is about weddings. It's set out very much like a children's book. It is a children's book. I think it's aimed between the ages of 5 and 7 years old.
Right.
And on this page, it says, my dad and daddy are husbands. They got married when I was 5. I was the bridesmaid. And it has a graphic of a young person and then the 2 dads in it. A bit more about the author. She's written other children's books. I found a couple of them. They're about change and resilience. There are a lot about space.
Okay,
every single space topic you could think of. And a couple about animals as well.
And so the case being put forward by this local councillor is that this book had complaints, right?
Yeah, so Cumberland City Councillor Steve Christou said that he had received complaints from parents about this same-sex parents book. I will just add, though, that based on interviews, he wasn't making clear how many complaints he'd actually received, so we don't know that exact number.
Yep.
He then called for a vote to strip Cumberland's 8 libraries of same-sex parent books and materials.
Okay.
On the matter, he said, and I'll quote him here, our kids shouldn't be exposed to sexualized behavior through same-sex parent books. He said that the book goes against his community's religious beliefs and family values. Do you think it's important to add here before we go on that the Sydney Morning Herald specifically asked him if he had read the book? He said no. He said, I have not. I've been very open about that. But he is the one that led this call and the motion for the books to be banned.
Right, so he's referenced there the beliefs of his community. He's on Cumberland City Council. Can you give me a sense of the demographics in that council area for anyone who's perhaps not in Sydney and doesn't know that area?
Yeah, so Cumberland is the local city council for suburbs including Granville and Regent's Park. So it's in Sydney's west. 2/3 of the community speaks a language other than English at home, with a total of 67 languages spoken across Cumberland. In terms of the religious breakdown, and I only mention this because he specifically said that this book went against his community's religious beliefs. 40% of the community identifies as Christian, so that's a clear majority. 22% identifies as Muslim, and 10% are Hindu. And to provide a bit more context to the council itself, and I hadn't put 2 and 2 together, it's the same council that banned drag queen story time events at libraries and halls earlier this year.
Right.
And Christou was the councillor who seconded that particular motion. So this isn't, I'd say, an unprecedented move by this council. They have had similar discussions in the past.
So it went to a vote at the local council. It ended up passing 6-5. We've talked about those 4 arguments.
Yeah.
What were people saying against?
Hello, I'm James and I produced the video you're watching. If you're enjoying what you're watching, we'd love it if you considered subscribing and checking us out on our other platforms. It'd really help in getting the word out about what we're doing here at TDA. Thanks very much, and now back to the deep dive.
Yeah, so you're right. 5 councillors voted against the ban, and that included the council's mayor, so the person that runs the council.
Yeah.
But that doesn't really matter either way because there still wasn't a majority. We heard from Labor councillor Diane Coleman, who was one of the people who voted against the ban. She likened the ban to old-fashioned book burning. She said that it was problematic on so many levels and that Cumberland City Council's motto is welcome, belong, succeed, and that means everyone is welcome and everyone belongs. But she said the bans like this indicate that perhaps that's not the case for everyone.
Yeah.
She also called the act censorship. So that's kind of the flavour of those who were opposing the book ban. That sentiment was really reflected by the New South Wales Government.
So it kind of escalated up the chain here.
It did. The New South Wales Government got involved fairly soon after the vote passed. We heard from a minister's office who confirmed to TDA that the government is considering withdrawing financial support for Cumberland's libraries in the wake of this decision. Then New South Wales Premier Chris Minns was specifically asked about it. Here's his response to a question about the ban.
I just think the whole thing's ridiculous. I mean, it's a library. You can choose to read a book or not. It seems to me to be engineered by one of these councillors because there's an election coming up, but what a joke. I mean, he should trust his own citizens enough to walk into a library and read whatever the hell they want.
So this has clearly gone from a local council issue that concerned 8 libraries to a state government issue now. Have we actually heard from the local community?
We have. So Caroline Staples, who lives in the area, she describes herself as a proud grandmother to a rainbow family. She has launched a petition demanding that the council should reverse the decision. She said, here in Western Sydney, we welcome people of different backgrounds, beliefs and cultures. She said the council motion had made her fear for the safety of the rainbow families in that community. And she said that she's going to present the petition to the council next week.
I just want to end with where we started, which is that my first thought when going through this story was how American it felt. Is this something that we have seen in Australia before?
You're right. It does feel like this is something we've imported from the US. I mean, I obviously know that I've read a lot of stories about book banning in the US, but I wanted to know if there was any empirical evidence to back up my thinking that this had become more regular in the US. And I found an article in The Conversation that said that in the US, attempts to censor books at public libraries increased by 92% from 2022 to 2023. So we're seeing exponential growth of this kind of concept and idea and act in the US, but it's certainly more unusual here in Australia. It'll be interesting to see what happens next for Cumberland City Council. If they are stripped of some of that funding to public libraries, will that force their hand?
And public libraries aren't, of course, flush with funding to start with.
No, so we'll have to wait and see what happens. And I mean, I don't know that we're on the same route as the US. I hope we're not, but I think that we certainly import a lot of these kind of cultural ideas from the US. So definitely one to wait and watch and could set a precedent in this country for what happens next.
Thanks so much for that, Azara, and thank you for joining us on the Daily Aus this week. We always appreciate the feedback that you give us, and it's been really interesting hearing your thoughts on all the episodes we've been doing this week. We'll be back again on Monday. Until then, have a great weekend.